here. Thanks for being timely. How's it going, Ethan?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Good to see everybody. Excited. I can't believe we're like halfway done. Is that true?
Yeah, that's intense. That went so fast.
I know. Weird. All right, but yeah, I'm excited to see demos. I don't know which group wants to go first.
Ethan, you want to do it?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay.
Cool. All right. So, what did we say? I'd go over our AC and a little bit about how we, how it looks, and then you show how it's used and the token. I mean the test. Yeah.
Nice. You coordinated ahead of time. I love it.
Yeah.
So good.
All right. So, yeah, let's see about some screen share in action.
Nice shirt, Alejandro.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. So I got to get this thing out of the way of my tabs. I got many tabs that are very important to me. It was Mindy and me this week, and RAC was the list view when there are no items to display should show a prompt, e.g. a button, for the user to add their first item. And that was something where if you look at the example app, you can see that it does that as well. So kind of a familiar idea. And so here we are at our website. And if we got our token, now that we're at the home or the list view, since there's no items, we have a special button that says add your first item. And if we did add a button or an item, then you can see here that would go back to show the normal items display with a list of all the different things we're adding, instead of having that one button just to welcome new users to show them how to start getting around the app.
Fantastic.
Cool. Mindy, you want to take over the screen sharing?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
All right. That's the wrong one. There we go. Yeah, so most of our work was done in fetch items. We created a, we actually had this in its own function for a little bit, but this is really what's checking to see if the if there's something in that particular. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm really tired right now, so I'm hard time with words.
Words are difficult at the best of times.
It's been a long day. Yeah, so this is just checking to see if there's a collection with the particular token that's there. And if it's empty, then we're actually checking, we're setting a state empty to true or false, depending on whether it is empty or not. And then we use that state a little bit later down here. And this is in the render part of the Firestore piece here. And before there was the is loading and the returning of the items list. And we just basically added in another conditional here. So if it is empty, then we actually return a link instead of the item list. And that's really, that's about it. That was the majority of what we had to do there. So
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could extend that. If this were kind of a more complete app, or we're trying to like make it super user friendly, to show some kind of screen that kind of introduces users to the concepts of the app and those kinds of things. But yeah, this is great.
Okay, great.
Good job.
Yeah. All right. The other page.
Does that mean it's our turn?
Yeah.
Sure does. Let's
Well,
see it.
So I am also dead ass tired like Mindy, so I apologize. And Claudia's sick, so we're just quite the group of people right now. Okay. So we're gonna do something just slightly different. We're gonna talk about our ACs, then show the code, and then show how it works, if that's okay.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So our ACs were to show an error message if the user tries to submit a new item that has the exact same name as an existing item, and also show an error message if the user tries to submit a new item that has the same name as an existing item where the capitalization and punctuation have been normalized. So we started out with normalizing the item, and we did have to change it slightly after our PR. But so how we did it, here we are, normalize item, is we lowercased it and trimmed it. So everything, so we would take off the, I don't think at first we had that trim, Andrew, on there. We added that, but we lowercased it. And then at first we actually had to kind of go over like what we learned as well. At first we had just done the method by if it would loop through the item, and if it was a letter, then it was good to go. But if it was not a letter, so we had an alphabet that it was comparing it to, then it would take it out. And then we realized that was not the best way to do it, because you could miss things, maybe like other other accents and whatnot on letters, like you pointed out. So then we changed it to be like with the symbol. So if it wasn't a symbol, excuse me, if it was a symbol, it would take it out. And then so all the letters would be in there. And then we also added the trim. So we learned a little bit about, I would say it took us a little bit of time to work to get this function fully fleshed out. It took us a minute to kind of just remember how slice works and everything, and some touch and go, I would say.
Yeah, it was some like checking and guessing and iterating.
Well, I have to look that one up every single time I use it. So.
Yeah, I would say this was a brute force method that we did here, because we just kept being like, is it there? Is it there? But we got it. So that was us taking the item and normalizing it. And then I'm going to pass it off to Claudia to talk about what we did next with it.
Yeah, so then after that, we ended up modifying this add item function for how we're adding things to the database. And the main difference now is that we're creating a document with, instead of just a random ID, each document has a name, and the name is equal to the normalized name. So that is, you can see that normalized name in the items doc ref. I also created a reference, so I didn't have like a bunch of repetitive code. And then below we have an if and else statement where we check, in the if we check whether the normalized name ID already exists, and if
Bless
it
you.
does,
Thanks.
yes, bless you. So if it does exist, then we created a state called duplicate. So then we the initial state is false, and then we set the duplicate to true, and then that triggers a function called a set timeout function, which kind of brings down that that message saying, what does my message say, like item already exists, or oops, or something like that. Yeah.
I just want to say something about that, because I didn't actually catch that that's what you're doing. So it's a really interesting, it's really clever, it's like a really creative thing that kind of mimics what you do with relational databases, where you put constraints. Like you could have a field, a column that has a unique constraint on it or something. So there can only be one row in the data in that table that has that value, and you're essentially doing that same thing. Like you're moving that constraint, that logic, to the database layer instead of handling it in the application layer. So I like that a lot. It's you kind of just let Firestore take care of whether it's unique or not.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's what we were going to.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that's good.
we were just trying to be awesome. So that if part is if the item already exists, it shows the error message, and then the else part is it actually sets the document, so the name and the number of days. And that's it.
Cool.
Do you want to talk? Sorry, do you want to talk a little bit at all about the number versus string thing for the number of days? That consumed a bit of time.
Yeah.
Or we can skip it. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's traumatic, but.
Well, I am noticing on here that we don't have that plus sign on number of days, so I'm not really sure if.
You know what? I bet I know why. I bet I have. Yeah. Okay. Ignore that. There we go. Okay.
Okay, there it is. All right.
That's the real code. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's all right.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know if there was any kind of learnings from that. Just it seemed like it was a little bit maybe confusing, like keeping track of where it was a number and where it was a string originally or something. There's a couple ways you can handle it, like just make sure it's a string all the way through until you set it in the database would be one thing, or just ensure that it's a number at all times so you don't have to worry about it. Which I think is maybe Alejandro was what you were kind of advocating.
Yeah, we tried setting everything to a number, and for some reason we were getting quirky things happening. But that's what we're not sure, like why we couldn't just set everything to a number in the first place.
Like, I think the functionality of it was still working, but like the styling CSS that's like what was having issues with it.
Yeah. Because like originally, like I had set the original state to select one of the radio buttons, and then every time you enter an item, then it would go back to selecting that original button. But when we started switching things to numbers, that just wasn't working like that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the value of an input is always going to be a string. So what may have been happening is once the value you were storing and kind of passing around was a number, you had a strict equality. You had 3 equal signs. So it's going to check both the value and the type and make sure that they're both the same. If you could have actually, in that case, maybe, I didn't actually test this, but you might have been able to kind of leverage JavaScript's sort of non-strict equality, whatever, I don't know what it's called, but the double equal signs where it would coerce the types and try to match. And maybe it would have worked then, I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, it's basically you came down to like number versus string and mismatch in some place.
Cool, yeah.
I was curious, did anyone figure out why it was messing with the radio buttons in that weird way? I was messing around with that for a while, and it was really weird. You have to double click them or not double click them, or one's selected by default or not. Did that become clear to anyone?
No.
Me either.
Okay.
No. Cool. Can I go ahead and show the app?
Yeah, let's see it.
Cool. So here we are. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna minimize you guys. So we're gonna type in cookies with a capital C, and we're gonna add in like a comma and a period.
And a space.
Oh, thank you.
Too late.
I told you to tell me that, Claudia. See? Okay, add item. And as we see here in the list, it appears as is, as we typed it. But if we go into, sorry, figure out what man, I saw something on Twitter yesterday that was like asking people where they keep their inspector tools. The winner was on the right-hand side. I'm not part of the population.
If you do it on the right-hand side, and then you can set it to be a mobile device, and it'll give you touch events and stuff too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Here I am also doing this and not even looking at what it says. Okay.
Carsus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So then if we come in here, as we see, it says cookies. So this is the normalized name that we did, and then we kept the original or the whatever you would call it. I don't know.
Yeah, the user's input.
User, thank you. Yep.
So now try to add like cookies all lowercase with maybe a space at the end.
Sorry. Let me. Oops.
Look at that cool animation.
That looks great. Really great.
Awesome.
We good?
Great.
So good.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah.
Cool.
Felt like that was a good one. There was like some good back and forth and like having to kind of go back over and switch up your algorithm a little bit and stuff.
Claudia and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We pair programmed really well on that one, I feel like, Claudia.
Yeah, it was actually really fun. Yeah.
That's really awesome to hear. Love that.
That's a good segue into the retro, don't you think, Stacie?
That is a great segue into the retro. Welcome to your second retro. It's happening right now, where we can talk about those same kinds of things and more. Okay, I shared the link to the retro in Slack. I can did we screen share last time? Like while we were doing it? Like, I'll go ahead and screen share so you can see things populating, I guess. But you'll pop in there just like you did last time. Do 3 appreciations, 3 things that went well, and 3 things that we could improve on or that blocked us from making progress. And we will give it 10 minutes. Is that enough? 10 minutes? And then we will get back together and talk them through. Okay, any questions before we go?
I'm going to put my initials at the beginning of mine so I know which
That's
ones
a
are
great idea. I love it. Okay, I'll screen share and we will go. Ready, set, go. When you're done, if you finish early, just post in the chat that you're finished so that we know.
Do we have a random order, Stacie?
Yeah. Did everybody say they're done yet? Sorry, I'm still making notes.
I'm not done. I swear my brain's just
Okay.
not working today.
If you can't do 3 in each column, that's totally okay. Do what you can.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like, what happened last week? I don't remember it at all.
Same.
Struggle.
The good news is I can't think of enough things that went wrong. That's the
Mhm.
column that's stumping me.
Yeah, to be honest, I only did 2 in the last column, and then I said I was done, but I just gave up because I couldn't think of any more.
You and me both, Ethan.
All right, good. We're a good team.
Yeah, the last column's the hardest.
Mhm.
But it's set up just so flawlessly, Andrew.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
Are we all just waiting on me?
We're getting close, but it's all good.
Okay. I am having a hard time coming up with stuff for the last column. I'm fine with just leaving it at 1 if we want to just leave it at 1.
I only did 2 in each of the columns, so.
I won't judge
If,
you.
if you feel done, then you're free to be done. No pressure.
Okay.
What I do at work is that I have a markdown file and I start adding things as soon as they come up during the sprint. So that helps a lot because like when you're like thinking here like in hot, it's difficult to remember everything that happened during the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I love that. Okay, cool. It looks like everybody's done. So we'll start by going through the appreciation. And I've dropped a random list in the chat of the order we'll go in. It's Ethan, Andrew, Claudia, Michelle, Alejandra, Stacie, and Mandy. So, Ethan, do you want to kick it off with your appreciations?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Appreciations. All right. I actually had 3 in this column, so I did good. The first one was very generic to everyone for working hard and coming up with good ideas. That's still the most fun part of this project for me is whenever maybe I have an idea that I think is a B or C idea. It's, the best I can come up with. And then whenever we start working together and all of a sudden a really, really great idea is generated, that's pretty cool to see. Are we doing just one or doing all 3? All of our.
Go ahead and do all 3 of yours.
Okay. Second one, I think we're gonna hear this one like 3 or 4 times, but appreciation to Alejandro for doing the examples for last week for state and for this week's stuff. Those kind of like big, it wasn't code pen, but like the big worked out examples were really, really nice. That helped me a whole bunch. And my last one was appreciation again to everyone for keeping the energy going, especially now because we're in the middle of the project. And in my experience, the middle of the project is like a lot of times the slog, the rough, like, I don't know, you don't have as much energy, lose interest, and everyone seems to be doing really good at keeping the energy up. So I appreciate that.
I love it. Andrew.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Alejandro, for being so involved with code reviews and just kind of all the conversations this week. And then everybody just for being so open to feedback on your PRs. It's really nice. It makes it's actually, you might not think of it, but as a code reviewer, sometimes you're a little nervous to give the feedback because you don't know how people are going to take it. But you all are so kind of like, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, we'll go back in and we'll do that. No problem. It makes it easier to like just want to kind of give the feedback. So thank you for that.
So good. Claudia, you're up.
Okay. Let's see. So I said thank you to Alejo for just reading our code in so much detail and giving us really good feedback that not only will like make things work functionally for us, but also like make us better coders and just like improve what we're doing. And then I said thank you to Andrew for giving us so much great advice and detailed direction, and just like taking the time to like be nice and detailed and like not hurt our feelings. And then I just thank you to Michelle for being so fun and supportive and chill and flexible.
Love that. Alejandro. Or Michelle. I skipped her.
Yeah, Michelle.
Michelle.
So definitely major shout out to Claudia again. It was like we had a really great work week this week. Like I said, the pair programming was great. It was fun. Obviously, another shout out to Alejandro for asking a very small question and making it become a very large conversation. And lastly, major shout out as well to Mindy for catching the stuff about our writing tokens to the database, but not only catching it, then going and proactively already changing it. So heck yeah. And also the question, I'm going to add on to that, the question you asked on Slack about what you do for normal PRs. Like, do you create a new branch or do you just solve it in that? So great questions there and great catch by Mindy.
Yep. Great question.
So good.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for your kind words. All right. So thank you, Stacie, for being like, I opened a PR in the template project, and Stacie was like, it was like 5 minutes, and I got it approved. So thank you for that. And also thank you, Stacie and Andrew, for being super responsive on Slack. You're amazing. You give a lot of detail and a lot of help to everybody. So thank you for that. You make my work way easier. Yeah, thank you for that. Yep.
Okay, Stacie, that's me. Okay, I had a few. I've not been paying attention to them because I've been reading your beautiful responses. Okay, I appreciate that you're all so self-sufficient. It's really, really cool to see you in here, like working together and solving problems. And like when you ask questions, it's not like asking mentors questions, like asking each other questions, which is really freaking cool, and like relying on each other. And it's brilliant and amazing. So wonderful. Alejandro, such a superstar. Love you. Best code reviews ever, and I'm learning so much from them. I'm super scared of giving code reviews. Alejandro knows this. And so like watching what you've done the last couple of weeks has been like really inspiring, and it's like helping me figure it out and feel a little more brave. Those are my two. Mindy.
Okay. So I first off wanted to just the like group that we did, the group pairing or group programming, the mod programming, if you will, kind of. Earlier last week. It was last week, right?
Sure.
Yep.
So hard to say.
It was just I really enjoyed working with everybody all on the same call. Like I feel like it's fun to get everybody's thoughts on something and be able to work together to solve a problem. I just really enjoyed that. And then also especially Ethan, I feel like Ethan and Claudia, both of you actually both just kept working on it even after we couldn't and getting the state stuff figured out. So that was great. And then Stacie, Alejandro, and Andrew, all of you for just like so many different like pieces of information and you know, answers to questions and answers to code reviews and the pair programming presentation, and all of it has just been really, really useful, like just top-notch quality and content. So I really like
Awesome. Yay.
that.
Really great appreciations, everyone. I think everybody feels wildly appreciated. Okay, let's talk about what went well, starting with Ethan.
Okay. What went well? I put down just generically using GitHub to cooperate. That's another thing. If even more than React or Firebase, the thing I really feel like I'm learning and getting a better handle on is Git, which is a nice feeling. And I think that the way we're like using GitHub to cooperate and keep the branches organized is really good. I like that. What went well? Getting feedback from coaches, kind of like what I said with Alejandro, and just also everyone's PR comments in general. I feel like that's helping keep everything go in the right direction. And what went well? Pairing as a team to fix project-wide issues. So kind of like what Mindy was saying, us all getting on a call at least once. I think we did twice in the last 2 weeks, where just the 4 team members got on a call, kind of an extra one to try to fix up some problems. I thought that went really well, and it especially makes sense whenever it's a problem that affects everyone, not just one team that week. It's good to be able to just kind of hook up and figure that out all together. That's mine.
Nice. So I just added a third one. Couldn't help myself, but I was kind of reminded that there have been so many, like over the last 2 weeks, so many great, just like real world questions. You know, kind of it just shows me that you're engaged in what we're doing, and like you really want to do the right thing, and you're kind of thinking, like trying to think of how you apply this experience to the world of work and that kind of stuff. So really fun to see those questions. Keep them coming. Also love seeing the attention being paid to CSS in the project. CSS, as Stacie knows, is like one of my favorite things. The lovely animation on the error message, that was so fun to see. Good stuff. And then the thing that like kind of process wise that I felt like went well, it seemed like like both pairs, well, both weeks, both the pairs seemed, especially this week though, seemed to get in a groove. Like you were like you kind of had your patterns worked out for how you were going to kind of coordinate and then pair program and then get your stuff in time where you don't feel rushed at the end of the week. Like kind of almost get done ahead of schedule. It was great. It was like just kind of everything was just clicking along. So good stuff.
That's
Claudia.
my turn. Yeah. Let's see. What went well for me? Just learning more about Firestore, and just I feel like I'm, like each challenge is helping me to learn how to like manipulate it more, and it's becoming something that I really like. And then also just other concepts, like now for string manipulation, we were really wanting to use regex, but we didn't know how to use it, so it kind of like made me really curious. So I went outside of our pair programming, and I just learned how to use it. So that worked really well for me. And then the other thing that was awesome is Michelle agreeing to get our ACs out of the way early in the week, so just code it all out and then have plenty of time to make corrections or ask questions, or just have plenty of time to not like feel stressed or rushed at the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one was just in general that we had so much, like just a lot of fun working programming this week. It was challenging and it was fun.
Excellent.
That's
Michelle.
So went well for sure. Like the pair programming again, like Claudia talked about, like we debated like looking at regex or regex or however you pronounce it. And then we were like, I think this would be maybe something we need to learn more about. So we kind of went a different route, but it went working together about that went really well. I think like the communication on GitHub was crazy this week. It was crazy good. Like I think all of us were commenting on that one thing from Alejandro, and it was just like amazing to see everyone working on that one small comment. And then also for me personally, it was really nice being back in the States. Like trying to connect with all y'all when I was in London was a lot harder than I expected it to be. Especially you guys all the way in Portland. Like, so it was really nice being back stateside to work with you guys.
Yeah, we deal with that at Zapier a lot, where it's like we have people in all these different time zones, and it throws a wrench in things.
But like between your time zone and mine, it's like decently able to handle. But the minute I was like 5 hours ahead, I don't know how people do that with work. It's insane. Like,
yeah, it is difficult. All right, let's see. So I see that you're giving great feedback in code reviews. Like you're positive, you're encouraging like changes. You take feedback well also. And also, I think that something that is really important is that you're not afraid of say, I don't know. So that is great. And that is a key ability to have in your professional career. So that's great. Not being afraid of say that you don't know. Also, you're asking great questions. As Andrew said, there are like real life questions. So keep doing that. Keep asking and keep learning. Keep doing that for sure. And also, there was a great conversation around the question between strings and numbers. I wasn't expecting that. It was like a thread of like 8 messages, and you were tagging each other and helping each other. So that's great. I was so happy to see that happening. Yeah.
So good. Okay. Oh my gosh, I didn't put my initials on mine. What was I thinking? Okay. One thing that I thought, real inconsistent. That's sort of my thing. Okay, you're all being super duper detailed in your Slack messages, and I love it. Like, I look in Slack and I just see these big chunks of like really well thought out pieces of information that are formatted beautifully, that like you can just jump into and know exactly what's going on without having to like pester for more information or more links or details about the intricacies of everything. So really fantastic communication. Keep it up. Claudia and Michelle totally crushing it and getting their PR in on Wednesday. That was like the highlight of my week, was seeing that. I was like, yes, look at all this time we have left for activities. It was so amazing. I say that knowing that some issues are harder. So when things don't get done on Wednesdays, that's totally fine. Some things are hard and take a longer time in the beginning, but seeing that come through, it like made my heart soar. So excellent job, everyone. Mindy, you're up.
Oh, okay. Well, I was actually going to say pretty much the same thing. I feel like we got our stories in earlier than we had, and that was great. Especially Claudia and Michelle, like, well done. That was really exciting to see. And I feel like I think all of this has already been said actually, but we really just made a lot of good progress on communication, because I think that was something we wanted to focus on getting better at last retro. So it was exciting to see how much better we did. Like, I feel like we really did a lot better with it, which was cool. It was really good. And then coding the other day, like I said, I just really enjoyed that, and I think that went well for solving the problems that we were running into, so that way we could all kind of work on it together.
So good. Now the harder part. What prevented us from making progress, and what can we do better in the next sprint? We'll have Ethan kick it off again.
Okay. Let's see. What did I say? No, I only had 2. Yeah. So one was stuff coming down to the last minute, taking longer than expected. It's difficult to know if the week is really done or if the PR will generate a lot more involvement. So I'm not sure. I guess this is just more like a general something that didn't work out the way I planned, and I'm not quite sure what to do about it. Like I think even with the example of Michelle and Claudia's branch this week, like they turned it in so early, but how were they to know that there was going to be all of this other stuff to work on? Where sometimes if you turn it in and do the PR, then maybe you have a few hours of work and then it's all done and you can merge it. So I don't know. I guess just continuing to try to turn it in as early as we can, or just planning on after we submit the PR that it's still a kind of blank canvas that could be almost done or could have a whole bunch more work. Yeah. So
Ethan, was that this week or last week? You?
What about
the
Michelle
stuff
and
coming
Claudia's
down?
branch?
No,
Yeah.
the stuff when you're saying the stuff coming down to the last minute, taking longer than expected. Was that your branch or was that theirs? Or
like this week it was Michelle and Claudia where like they got the stuff in so early, but then there's a whole bunch of and I feel like I feel like this happened to me maybe a couple of weeks ago whenever it was Claudia and I. But it's just happened once or twice where I thought, okay, I wrote a test, we did this, we accomplished our ACs, we turned in the PR, so we should be good. And then sometimes that isn't good, So I kind of have to frame my expectations to realize that after the first PR is submitted and I think I've accomplished what the stories wanted me to accomplish that week, it might not really be done.
Yep.
Cool. And my other one was, this week we didn't fill out our wiki very much. So the wikis in the past looked really nice and had a lot of information, and this one doesn't. So I think that's a pretty easy fix because we can just kind of fix it up a little bit and make it look nice, even though the week's done. And probably it's natural that it's not as filled out because I don't think Mindy or I needed as many different resources to accomplish this week's goals. Like we had to think about it a bit, but it wasn't like we had to do a tutorial that was showing the approach. We just kind of Googled stuff until it came together. So those are my two things.
Cool. So I think the acceptance criteria on that normalization card could have been more clear. So we'll I realized once I was giving you the feedback, like it doesn't actually specify that like exactly what should be sort of stripped out, and whether you need to like trim spaces off the end, those kinds of things. So I'm going to think through kind of updating it for future cohorts. And then the other one is just kind of a silly suggestion. We at Zapier, we name our sprints. We have this sprint name generator thing, and it comes up with these ridiculous, I don't know, quintessential ibex or something, like all these weird names, and you name the sprints, so you can kind of refer back to, was that
nice? We can just use the
otherworldly ostrich.
The token generator comes up with some good stuff.
It does sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a super serious suggestion, but yeah, that's all I have.
Cool. So for mine, back to the AC requirements. We could have asked earlier on in the coding process more, or kind of like thought it more through instead of like, okay, I think we understand, and we just like go straight to coding, because we thought about it after Andrew had commented on what we had done and realized like, yeah, if the user inputs like cookies with a slash and a plus, and then like it goes to the list and it's just cookies, like that's kind of weird. Like I would think that that's not good UX, that it's like deleting my characters. So we could have thought it more through and asked more questions earlier on. And then the other thing is, oh, same as Ethan said, just like filling out our wiki. We kind of, we were doing it great when we were originally doing our C requirements. And then after that, when we felt like a little more like we were done and we were just like answering the PR comments, we totally forgot our wiki. So we could have written more stuff there. That's it.
I think it's my turn now.
Yep.
So I think the same thing as what Claudia said. I think we kind of misinterpreted our AC slightly a little bit. So maybe we could have asked beforehand for more of a clarification on that note, but we learned. So we'll know next time. Also, just I guess on that note too, like normalization, it could be that term could just mean so much on what you could really make it be. Like, how strict does it have to be? That's just a side note. That has nothing to do with learning or with next week. I just thought about that. But then also, this isn't really necessarily anything that needs to be improved, but just as a question, like our branch is not merged yet. Does it need to be merged by the time this call happens, or does it matter?
That's kind of the goal. I mean, and the demos ideally would be done on the production URL, right? Like we're kind of in the habit of showing them on localhost, but
yeah. So I guess maybe we should if that's the case, because there's going to be like merge conflicts, I wonder if the four of us should maybe talk about that, trying to get like the merge conflicts worked out before, so that they can be merged. But just obviously nothing necessarily changed. Just think about.
Yeah, I don't think our branch got approved before this call. Did it get approved? And we just didn't get the memo.
Oh, I don't know, actually. Sorry.
I mean, it's all good, but yeah, that's why we have it. That's why I haven't merged it. I wasn't sure what to do.
Okay, makes sense.
All right.
Oh, I'm done.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I only have one thing. Sorry if I led you to a rabbit hole with my comments. That's not my intention. I just like to ask questions. So sorry about that.
Sometimes.
Feel free to tell me that I'm going too far, and I will stop. Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, I didn't write a card because I was busy organizing this retro, but the one thing that I do want to echo that you guys have already said is like asking questions. Like if you're ever unclear about something, just ask a question. That's totally fine. It'll take, maybe 5 minutes for somebody to think of a response for you, as opposed to like hours of maybe going in the wrong direction, or, like not even knowing what to search. So just going out into the void and hitting nothing. So just keep up asking really great questions. And if you're ever like really unsure about something, just ask. That's all.
And that's me, I guess. So
Yep.
I have two. One of them is staying up on wikis, like I think we've all mentioned, or a lot of us have mentioned. And then just the learning that I should create a side branch for random small edits instead of doing it all in the one that we're working on for the week. So that was a good thing to learn, and something I could do better in the future.
I love it. Okay, so we have 9. No, we're past time because it's supposed to end at 45.
We're 6 minutes
I
over.
lied to you. So what we can do then is, if you want to continue the discussion about what we can if you want to bounce back ideas on how we can improve for the upcoming sprints, we'll do that in Slack like we did last time. Anything else? Andrew? Alejandro?
I don't think so. It's been really fun to see you all, like I said, kind of get in the groove, and like you're making progress, and like you're figuring it out, you're learning how to do this stuff. And I don't know if you realize just kind of how far you've come in just 4 weeks, but I think you are all better at doing this than you were a few weeks ago. So the next few weeks, it's about, a matter of kind of just like continuing to kind of level up and refine what you've already learned. But you're doing great. It's so fun. I love Collab Lab so much.
Us too.
It's all because of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely like suggesting it to people, just so you know, because I like it.
Cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, I have 2 things. The first one is that I'm really happy with you. Like, you're doing a great job, and yeah, I love it. Like Andrew, yeah, I love it. I'm enjoying this a lot. And the next thing is once you merge your PR, I will create another one to use Prettier. So if you don't know, Prettier is a tool that formats our code in the same way, right? So for example, I have seen that we have, for example, double quotes and single quotes, spaces here, spaces there. So when you open a new PR, that adds noise because like, oh, you like to have double quotes or whatever, you know? So with Prettier, that will be fixed and we will have like the same structure for code and it will happen automatically. So you don't have to do anything. So every time you commit your changes, the code will be formatted and that's it. So you don't have to do anything to get it.
So good. It's going to be so much prettier.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's a tool we use.
Nice. It's going to put all the semicolons that I delete back in, and then I'm going to have to deal with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well.
Cool. Nice job, everybody. Thanks for running the retro, Stacie. Good job.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks
Oh,
for
good
having
job.
such
Good
good thoughts in the retro. You're all amazing.
Yep. Very cool. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
I'll post video a little
Okay.
later. But thank you. Well, have
Thank
a
you.
good rest of your week.
It worked. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.